Hey, thanks for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode on Fitlete Radio. My name is George Pagan III. Let's meet our coach.
Hey, I'm Steve Lutz. I'm an online fitness coach and owner of Lutz Fitness. I mainly help people who feel like they've let themselves go over the years to reclaim their identity through sustainable strength, nutrition, and mindset coaching. I'm currently located in Spokane, Washington as of May 2025, but before then, I was living in Beaverton, Oregon, which is my hometown. From 2017 through 2021, mainly while I was living in Korea, I gained over 170 pounds after previously being pretty fit for most of my life. To keep a long story short, once I moved home from Korea, I lost the weight, got a handle on my drinking, and realized that the real transformation wasn't just physical, it was mental. And that experience really shaped my entire coaching philosophy. I had always had some interest in coaching or training from my early days back in the gym. So things kind of came together perfectly when I realized, hey, I can use my transformation to inspire others and help them get back into shape through online coaching as well. Now I work one-on-one with clients to help them stop the all or nothing cycle, get consistent, and rebuild belief in themselves, just like I had to do.
I know you're an awesome coach and take your job seriously, but to get to know you a little bit more, can you tell us a funny story about your life that happened outside of coaching?
So when I was thinking about this, it was tough because it's hard to gauge what is and is not interesting about your own life sometimes. But my answer for these types of questions is usually that back in early 2018, I moved from Oregon to South Korea to teach English after I graduated from college. And I ended up staying there for just about 4 years after only planning to go for one. And I really enjoyed my first 2 years there. But the second two were the COVID years in 2020 and 2021, which definitely was not as fun. It was taken very, very seriously. Um, but this whole period of time, that 4 years, is especially relevant because it's also when I gained the majority of the 170 pounds that I would end up losing once I did return home in late 2021. Korea was not the reason why I gained all the weight, but it was the perfect environment for my already present drinking issues and dwindling nutritional habits to really spiral, and the rest is history. It was a really awesome place with really awesome people, though. I made some amazing friends and unforgettable memories. And even though it was a low period in my life, especially physically, but mentally as well, it spurred some serious character growth during and after. And it began my love for teaching, which I did continue to do as a substitute in the States for a few years once I returned home. And teaching ended up being the trigger that gave me the go ahead to pursue a career in coaching, since there's a lot of crossover. So, great experience overall, and I hope that that was fairly interesting.
We can't train everyone exactly the same. Our clients come to us having different life experiences and sometimes force us to think outside the box when it comes to their training. As a coach, how do you problem solve with your clients who come to you with some common aches, pains, injuries, some physical limitations, or previous traumas so they can still get the results that they want and the ones that they came to you for?
So, when it comes to common limitations, I always stay within my scope as a coach. So, if a client has an injury, chronic pain, or any trauma history, I make sure they're getting help from the right professionals first. But from there, I work with whatever information they bring me and adapt the plan around it. And just to be clear, I never make rehab plans. That's where I would refer out. My job is to support, not to diagnose or treat. But I'm still pretty new to coaching in general, so I have limited cases that dealing with this, but I'll talk a little bit about how I'm handling it with a current client. So one of my current clients is dealing with an ongoing lower back issue he's dealt with for years. He came to me to lose weight, and he did do a great job in losing 30 pounds pretty quickly with no issues. But his back issues did start to flare up again, and things got pretty tricky. So we were able to get him into the doctor to finally get some answers about where the back pain is stemming from, which he found out were bone spurs, as well as getting him working with a physical therapist to address his issues better than I can. And he had to take a step back from the gym for a while, which was hard for him because getting his workouts done and pushing himself in them was a big motivator for him. He's an admitted perfectionist, so the all or nothing spiral had kind of started to take hold and really discourage him. So that is when we kind of just took a step back and refocused on the main priority, which was physical healing. So instead of pushing for weight loss, the current goal right now is weight maintenance, or more more accurately, just an intentional pause to support his recovery and just recalibrate. I wanted to keep the habit loop alive while removing pressure. So we've really just scaled back to really dial in the habits that are going to be foundational to his long-term success with his weight loss. So we're focused on movement he can do with his limitations, nutritional awareness, and rebuilding consistency, along with ongoing stuff with his doctors, and we hear from them, and so on and so forth. Interestingly enough, though, his mentality has seen some of the biggest shifts since we've been working together over this period. And I can feel him starting to really believe that this is not the end of the road and is just a hurdle that he can use to develop resilience and patience. So I think a big part of it is all psychological, is just helping clients understand that showing up doesn't always mean pushing hard. And sometimes it means slowing down and rebuilding in a way that actually lasts. So my approach, I guess, could probably be condensed to meeting people where they're at and helping them discover where it is they can go from there while dealing with their issues. And it's going to look different for everybody. Progress doesn't always mean pounds off the scale or a new PR. We're building lifestyle habits, and that can be done regardless of injury status. The goal is always to move forward, not to get where somewhere else is, not become free from all pain and injury, though that is the hope, but to move forward from where you are now.
Just like we are, most of our clients are spending time on social media and can get information from other people in their family and social circles. When questions come up during coaching calls and training sessions, how do you address some of the common misconceptions around nutrition and exercise with these clients?
So this might be something that a lot of coaches might complain about, but I actually think it's a pretty valuable part of the job. Doing the work to dispel myths and conceptions is your duty as a human being in general, but doubly so as a coach or trainer. And it feels good to help people get clarity in a world that's filled with so much BS that's fed to them by people whose only goal is to make as much money as possible, right? Anyway, when these topics come up, here's how I handle it. So first, I might ask where they heard it. So TikTok, a friend, a trainer. It helps me to just kind of meet them where they're at. And I would never shame or bully anyone for believing something, especially that's popular or widely repeated, because I've believed dumb stuff too, and I'm sure that I still do. Um, in fact, there was actually a good reading from the Daily Stoic, which is a daily meditation type book I read every morning, the other day about forgiving others when they don't know any better and using your own knowledge to be gentle and gracious. I think that's important. That said, if the person is an influencer spreading misinformation on purpose, call it out. Just don't be a dick. So instead of just saying that's wrong, I might ask, how has that been working for you so far? Or do you feel like that's sustainable? Then I explain the reality in a way that's clear and relatable, maybe with a personal example, something visual. And then we might dive deeper into the topic if the client is really curious about it. Otherwise, I shift the focus from magic bullets to the fundamentals, which is consistency, sustainable habits, and realistic timelines. But these topics of the myths and misconceptions usually don't come up with my clients after we're working together, because part of my goal is dispelling those myths and misconceptions before they're even working with me. Because most people have already been wrestling with this stuff before they ever even reach out. So we usually start clearing things up before a sales call even happens. Okay, reinforcing realistic timelines is definitely still necessary with current clients. That's a constant. But luckily, I have my own weight loss journey to pull from as an example, which took about 2 years, and even that was fast. So that's really helpful with the timeline stuff, because we all want to get there fast, right? But overall, the goal is just to never try to sound smarter. It's to build belief in something that actually works.
Our clients can come to us for many reasons, and often they tell us in their consultations or new lead questionnaire that they have multiple goals or they're trying to work on a couple of things. Usually it's not just one sole specific thing. How do you approach goal setting with these clients who have multiple objectives when you ask them about what their goals are?
So most people come in with multiple goals: fat loss, muscle gain, better energy, confidence, all of it. Totally normal. The key is helping them break out of the I need to do everything at once mindset by giving them permission to slow down and focus on what matters most first. I mostly work with clients who want to lose weight, but within that, we can break it down. Are they aiming to feel better in their clothes, improve gym performance, sleep better, Those sub goals can help clarify what we're actually working towards and which habits need to be prioritized first. We also talk through what those goals really mean to them and what would actually make their day to day feel better, and that can help filter out some of the noise. From there, I walk them through what we can realistically tackle now versus what might need to wait. Some goals overlap, like fat loss and increased energy, but others may need to be phased. In some cases, certain goals may compete with each other a bit, like aggressive fat loss and serious muscle gain. So, sequencing becomes essential not just for effectiveness, but for adherence and recovery too. So, the strategy is simple: start with what's realistic, what they're ready for, and build momentum from there. Once we have consistency with the core habits like steps, nutrition, sleep, we can zoom out and tackle the next layer. People come in putting a lot of pressure on themselves. And one of the most valuable things I can do as a coach is to take some of that pressure off and help them realize that they're not behind just because they're not hitting 4 goals at once. And when you frame it as the whole thing is a journey, not a sprint, clients are way more open to doing one thing well instead of trying to juggle everything and burning out, because progress stacks. And when they start seeing results in one area, it builds the belief that they can tackle the rest with less overwhelm and more ownership.
I believe all coaches should have similar baseline knowledge before starting to work with people. And I'm building Fitlete to help bridge some of these gaps that exist in our exposure to education. What experiences or qualifications do you think are crucial for coaches to have in order to deliver the best service they can for their clients?
So I think the best coaches have either been through it or they know how to truly connect with someone who has. A lot of my clients have told me how much it means to them to have someone guiding them who's been in the trenches too, because it builds trust. That said, every coach should be certified. Certs are important. I just think they're only one part of the puzzle. If you don't know how to use that knowledge, it's not really going to help your clients, because certifications only go so far. If you can't explain complex ideas in a simple, usable way, then the knowledge doesn't really help anyone. And I think some coaches get caught in that cert collecting loop. They're constantly learning, but not necessarily getting better at coaching. And coaching is 90% communication, listening well, asking the right questions, and understanding what your client is saying, and sometimes what they're not. You need a framework for sure, but you also need the ability to pivot based on your client's energy, stress, or season of life. Because they don't just bring a body to coaching, they bring their whole selves. And the best coaches are the ones who can hold space and guide without judgment. I still think knowledge matters. You should be learning constantly, but you can't lose sight of what matters most, which is helping people. That's the point of the knowledge in the first place. So no coach has it all figured out, but the ones who stay curious, keep learning, and stay client centered, those are the ones who are actually going to make a difference.
Our industry is evolving every step of the way, and we're getting to the point where it's essential to have some sort of technology within your business for both the experiences you can deliver for your clients and your ability to grow sustainably. How do you use technology to assist you in your coaching as a coach and behind the scenes as a coach that nobody really sees?
So, as an online coach, technology is central to everything I do. So, I'll give a quick rundown. So, I use Trainerize to deliver programs, track progress, messaging, and just keep accountability centralized. Behind the scenes, I use Go High Level for contracts, check ins, applications, calendar bookings, pipelines, stuff like that. And that just keeps everything on one place on my end. As far as other client facing stuff, I do use Loom for video responses for weekly check ins, because that feels a lot more personal than just text. And Loom is also nice because you can show your screen and just further explain things as needed. Some other apps that I use for business purposes are Google Sheets for detailed finance tracking, Wave for payment processing, Google Calendar for my schedule. I like to plan out the entire day, not just work periods. That works really well for me because I do struggle with ADHD, so I need structure, and Zoom for calls. As far as content creation, which I'm sure many coaches will agree is a larger part of running a coaching business than they might like, I use Canva for visuals. I'm on Instagram as my main content hub, though I also do have a TikTok and Facebook page. And I would like to start a YouTube page eventually, but I am struggling enough as it is to record myself on video for short form content on Instagram. So one step at a time there. And the big question that everyone might be wondering is, do I use ChatGPT? So I do a little. I'm the type of person who thinks of something and has to know the answer. So I was a big Googler in my day. So I use ChatGPT a lot in my personal life because I'm always thinking of random questions. And it's just nice to be able to instantly ask. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything. So that's definitely helpful when a client comes with a unique issue or something I'm less familiar with, just to learn more about it. So I use it in the same way that I used to use Google, but with more clarity and speed. On the business side, though, it's a tough one because it'd be easy to fall into the trap of using ChatGPT for basically everything, especially content related. But I don't think it's a wise strategy. I personally need to feel good about what I post, stuff like that, before posting. So I need to have had a part in making it. But GPT could be a great resource to bounce ideas off of. And one thing I've been doing, because I really do struggle with pulling up Canva and just making something, that was a huge stress for a while. So something I've been doing recently using ChatGPT is I will free write on my MacBook. And these free writes usually go all over the place and end up being pretty long. So what I've been doing is I'll send the file over to ChatGPT and ask it to scan over the document and look for quotes or pieces that would make good content. And I found that that's a satisfying strategy because I get the release of writing and getting my thoughts on paper without having that, what should I post dread? And that dread is real. I still don't post nearly enough. I'm still finding my brand voice and trying different things out. But that system of writing has really helped. And that's one way that I've been able to use ChatGPT to make things easier.
Steve, thanks so much for coming on and sharing some great info about yourself. Steve and I unfortunately haven't met in person yet, even though we did go to the Real Coaches Summit together last year. We just happened to miss each other during all the festivities and talks with the presenters. But I was formally introduced to him through a friend of mine, Chris Little. I was listening to his podcast that Steve was a guest on and really, really enjoyed Steve's story, his mindset, and his approach to coaching. So I wanted to get him on here after getting to know him a little bit more. He's got a great personal story. He dove into it a little bit through this episode. And if you want to listen to more about it, go ahead and pop on to Chris Little's podcast with Steve to get some extra details and some insight. He shares a lot of his story with some of his clients. Uh, and I can see where he uses this personal experience he has, his thirst for knowledge into his work, and how he works it into his coaching philosophy pretty seamlessly. I'm glad you got to know Steve a little bit more through this episode, and check the show notes to see how to connect with him best. That's all for this episode. If you want to learn more about Fitlete and possibly get your own episode, please visit fitlete.com. That's Fitlete.com. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.